Thanks, Marshall. So I'm going to discuss some improvements I've been making to how OA and its extensions are built and delivered. So the current situation is that we have OA and several extensions, and they're all made available to everyone to be downloaded individually. And when they're downloaded individually and tried to be built individually, then the documentation, we try to read through the documentation and understand how to configure the environment for each one of them. And then you try to build each module. And in the cases of OA script, you have to point to a particular version of OA when you build it. And in the case of OAXPOP, you have to point to a version of OA and OA script. And so trying to remember to point to the correct versions of each of those is something that has to be done and often isn't done correctly. And so those of you who have built OA and OA script and the extensions have probably encountered this many opportunities for misconfiguration, incompatibility, and errors. And so there's clearly some area for improvement on this. In addition, if you are downloading OA and maybe OA script, you may not be aware that there's OAXPOP and OAXColor and other useful tools that you could benefit from. So what we need is a single package and with auto config. Now, these two ideas were brought up independently over time. About a year ago, the idea of a single package to put all of it together was raised. And then independently from that, in conversations with some of the working groups, the idea of the benefit of having something like auto config to configure your system automatically was raised. And so as I began to put these together, I just realized, package them, put them together, and it really is a really good package, a really good solution. So what I've been working on is creating a single package that can be downloaded, untarred, and then use the industry standard auto configure with some command line options that are specific for your build to then look at your system and look what you've got installed, look at the versions of the different things you have, and automatically set up the configuration for your builds. And then you would run make, and then this would build OA script, and all the extensions. And finally, you would have to just run make install to take all the executable and useful products out of that into a single install location. On the number 2 there, where I show the configure command, there are more than just the prefix that would need to be specified, but I put that there for the benefit of registering something you're familiar with. You would also need to specify a few more things, which I've included as a footnote there, such as the scripting languages that you want to build with. In the case of OAXPOP, you'd also need to specify the boost root directory. And you have the option with OA script whether or not you want to rebuild the SWIG wrappers or not. OA script version 5.0 introduced that capability or that option. So the single package with auto config provides an easy way to build OA and all the extensions all at once, automatically configuring the build process by automatic examination of your system, specifying one single install location for everything, building with or without the regeneration of the SWIG wrappers, building all the modules consistently with the same versions of the compiler and the scripting languages. And that could easily be understated. So I want to reemphasize that if you've built OA and you've gone on and at some point later you want to build OA script or AXPOP, you may have built with a different set of scripting languages than what you have in mind. So for the later builds, this builds it all together with the same scripting languages and everything for all of the modules. There is a versatile set of command line flag options, and another feature that has been requested is the ability to add in your own proprietary modules. So if you have extensions that are not public, then you can drop them into this process and have them built as well with all of the same configurations that everything else is built with. So I'd like to dig in a little deeper to the auto-config process and just kind of describe what it does, so you'll understand how that works and what it does. So the first thing it does is it initializes a set of defaults for the locations of the different modules or the extensions, the things that are going to be built, and defines some help info so that when you type config dash help, then you'll get a list of all the different commands that are the command line options that are available, and what they mean, and description of them, etc. Then it goes to define the OA sysname, which uses the sysname script that is provided in OA to get the platform, and uname-m to get the architecture 32 or 64-bit. And then it goes on to check your build tools. It looks for make, GCC, Clang, Swig, and it looks in your path to find these, but they can be overridden on the command line. And then it captures the versions of each of these for a compatibility check subsequently. Then it goes to validating the source installations, the installation of OA script. These come with the package, the single package. Future extensions would be added in, and your proprietary extensions could be dropped in as well. It searches for a make file or a header file or something inside of each of these to verify that, yes, this is a valid source package. And in the case of OA, it also captures the version number of OA, and in OA script, it captures the version number, and at OXPOP, it verifies that the boost installation that was specified is valid. And these versions then are used in the very next step to the top right column for compatibility checks. So there is a check performed on the version of OA and GCC for the Variadic template, where if you're using OA version 22.60 patch level 61, then you've got to be using GCC version 4.3 or greater. I'm sorry, if you're using that particular version of OA or greater, then you need to be using GCC version 4.3 or greater. And if you are trying to build an older version of, or a more recent version of OA with an older version of GCC, then an error message is thrown with instructions about why that's not possible. And then you can address it there at the beginning. If the condition is set or meets, if the condition is met, then the Variadic workaround flag is automatically set in your build process, in your make variables. Another comparison is made for OA and GCC is for the CXX11 ABI flag, which has another set of requirements. If OA is greater than 2260.patch level 65, then you've got to be using GCC greater than 5.1. And so if this condition, if you're trying to build a version of OA that's greater than that version, and an older version of GCC less than 5.1, again, the error message is thrown with instructions explaining why. And then the flag is set correctly if the conditions are met and satisfied. I'm just curious, how many of you even knew that these were the exact versions of these things that needed to be met? Probably none of you. Well, now you all know, but now you can all forget it. Another comparison is for the version of Clang and Swig, and it verifies that all the dependencies are correct for building the Swig wrappers, which is an option. And then it checks to see whether you specified script languages. And if you haven't specified any, then it'll exit with an error message explaining that you have to specify some script languages. And it will verify the existence of the script languages you specify, and if there were typos or whatever, they'll show that it searched for it and couldn't find it, and ultimately it'll include only the ones that existed. So if you see that something was not included that you intended to include, then you would go back and make your correction. And then it sets some environment variables and reports what the set of environment variables are that were set, and then recommends that you add those to your startup shell script. And then it creates the make variables file, which is the guidance for the make process, and copies that make variables file into each of the modules at the places where they need to be in order for those modules to include them properly. And finally, there's this extra modules variable, which is going to handle the definition of custom modules. I'd like to describe the file structure of the source package. So there is a top level directory, and in it, the make file and make variables file that get set with information that's collected from the configure process. There's the configure script that you would run, and then the packages. And you would put your extension into this single package top level directory. This is something I have not finished developing to identify how to verify the validity of that the extension is usable. There's going to probably need to be some type of a templated make file. For one thing, the make file would want to benefit from the information that was collected by configure. So that make file would need to source the make variables file that's produced and use any of the variables that are provided by that make variables. And then last, the documentation. And then once so that was the input, the single package that I just showed you. This is the output, single executable package, the file structure. There would be a single top-level directory that you specify for the prefix, the install location. And in it would be the bin directory, include directory, live directory, and all the other directories that are produced by OA and all the extensions merged into a single top-level directory, and the documentation as well. So to summarize, I want to give you a status of what I have done and what hasn't been done yet. So what's marked in green here has been done. The make variables configure, the make variables in, all that's being created automatically by autoconfig. And I have these modules shown in green here: OA, OA script, OX pop, OX color, and OX debug, building together with that same set of configurations. Left def, I need to add in, but I believe that'll be very simple. I'll need to probably work with each person at first, especially to put together a plan for how to work the proprietary extensions. And hopefully after some number of those are done, maybe some general practice will be established, and that hopefully will make it easier for others to do it very quickly and easily. And then the documentation still has to be done. I do plan to have the all of those things in red done by the end of this year. And currently as well, I want to mention that this is being developed for Linux, but autoconfig and make both obviously work for Windows, but the compilation on Windows is something that has not been formally supported for some time, but it is certainly possible. And so eventually in next year, probably we'll try to add support for compiling on Windows as well. And that's it for me. Q&A.
Hey, Chris, it's Larg.
Hi, Larg.
This is a dream come true.
We've already quoted you on that, Larg.
This is awesome. I mean, yeah, I'm more than happy to beta test that.
Great. Thank
Cool.
you, Larg.
This is really cool.
Chris, this is Jeff at Synopsys. Is this structure going to be checked into Git or somewhere that we can collaborate on?
Marshall, if you go back to like the source package directory. So I think it might make sense to have the tools that are needed to build, configure, and like the make variables file .in and some other things checked in. But the OA script, OX pop, all these extensions, those are the repository versions of those projects. So they're already checked into, well, OA is not checked into GitLab, but it's the state of the source code that's delivered. And in the case of the extensions, exactly what's checked into the repository. So those are already checked in. But yeah, probably there could be a project created to maintain and keep the revisions of the system, the make file in, the make variables in, the configure.ac, other things that are part of that process. Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, you have some codependencies, right? Because you've got a configure.in, make.variables.in, and a configure inside of each of those modules or those extensions, and those don't currently support those methods.
That's not correct.
Oh, yeah?
There's only one configure, and it is at the top level, and then it launches the build process for each of the modules as they are designed. So the building of those, so the configure system will collect whatever information is needed by those modules and then make it available to those modules. But the make file of each module, so like OA scripts make file itself is launched, and it includes the make variables file that was produced by the configure at the top level. And that provides it with everything it needs to build. That's all that's needed. It's just to make variables.
Okay. All right. Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Chris, I had the same question as, first of all, I wanted to echo what others have said in the IM, and also here, this is great, as you know. I've told you that before. I would also like to echo what was just asked there. I do think that we should have a repository for this build system that we can collaborate. I have some of my own requirements I'd like to hopefully get put in there as hooks. I'm sure others have the same. I don't know if
ESG topic.
Correct. I was just about to say that.
Consider a work group. Yeah.
I think we have the framework for this, and I think the ESG could be used for it. I think we should do so and get other people involved.
Yeah, sounds good.
Thanks.
The other thing that should come out is this executable package. We're considering doing a version of it for academia that could potentially be licensed and have a single semester license, so a student could ultimately pull it down and put it on their laptop. That would help a lot for the academic participation as well.
Yeah.
So I had a question, Marshall. The LeftDef is on Apache license, so I assume it'll be put separately.
Yes, this is not a replacement for what we deliver today. This is in addition to what we deliver today.
Okay.
And this LeftDef is more for as a convenience because it's required for your build.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.